Hello guys, welcome to the channel. This is going to be the ultimate new player or returned player guide for almost everything to know about Guild Wars 2. I made a big post across several social medias asking new and returned players to Guild Wars 2 about their first and biggest questions about the game and what they were confused about when they first started, and I'll answer all that in this video. And I will also guide you through the game step by step from the start of your journey to give you hints and tips and also show you what exactly you need to do and your next steps after. This isn't going to be a short guide. It'll probably be the longest on this channel yet, so I want you to get back here every time you have a question and you need it to be answered. I'll set timers in the description for every important thing. You can grab a drink or some food and watch me explain things, or you can just leave the video on the background while you play the game. Before I get into more details, I'll introduce myself. I'm a Guild Wars 2 content creator, currently at 6,400 subscribers. Been making videos for almost 2 years now, and I've been a Guild Wars 2 player since 2019. I make guides about the game and build videos for a lot of professions, but mostly about my main class, the Reaper. It's a spec from the Necromancer profession. It's kind of like a Death Knight melee character, a mix of warrior and Necromancer, kind of like Death from Darksiders 2 if you ever play that game, but it have ranged options by the way. The other part of my name is the Sylvari. It's a race in Guild Wars 2. They're like wood elf, free people in other games. Welcome to my channel. I have over 400 videos about Guild Wars 2 that are dedicated to help you out through your journey and to answer your questions, get gear, make gold, get stronger, etc. Don't forget to like the video so it reaches more people and subscribe to the channel for more stuff. And if you're into watching streams, come follow my Twitch. Now let's do this. So the core game in Guild Wars 2 is free to play. This has a lot of content and a really huge map to explore. You'll be able to enjoy the game and try it out for the first time and get a taste of it, so you'll decide later if you're gonna continue playing or move on and quit, which is gonna be a huge mistake if you ask me. This is probably the most underrated MMORPG right now for many reasons. Firstly, if you can afford it, I recommend every new player to buy the first two expansions, Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the two expansions are in the price of one. Thousands of hours of content. You'll be able to unlock a mount at level 10 to help you explore the game. This mount will be unlocked for every new player by the way, even as a free to play, but it'll have limited time. You'll also be able to unlock some other features like a new class, the Revenant, gliding mechanics, and other mounts that are dedicated to do different things. For example, there's a bunny mount that can jump so high to reach difficult places, a mount that can skim above water, a mount that can teleport, and there's even a secret mount at the end of Path of Fire. I won't spoil it for you. In addition to all this, you'll unlock limitations on the trading post where you'll be able to sell stuff to make gold and even turn your gold into cash shop currency, the gems, to buy whatever you want without having to pay any money unless you want to. I played this game for over 6 years now and I never bought gems for money, and this is one of the most amazing things about Guild Wars 2. I had to mention that these two expansions go on sale quite often for down to even $7 for two expansions by the way that have thousands of hours of content. That's like half the month subscription of ASO Plus, half of the month subscription for World of Warcraft even. And unlocking all of this for a cheap price is probably the best deal you'll ever get into MMORPG gaming. So yeah, if you want to be efficient from the start and you know you'll continue to play the game, get this expansion pack and you won't regret it. This is my first ever tip to you. And if not, you can simply continue as a free-to-play to try the game anyway and decide later. Now I'll start this guide from the start. Here's the part when you actually log into your account for the first time. You'll get this tab where you can verify your account using SMS to get a dragon miniature. They're like a small pet that's there to accompany your character and look good, and you can collect tons of them depending on what you like. You can do this or skip it, whatever you want. Now you have to choose a server depending on your closest one. I live in North Africa, so I choose Europe and I have around 80 ping. If you live for example in Brazil or USA, you'll have to choose America to get lesser ping. Now with that out of the way, if you're free to play, you're given 2 character slots. Choose one to create your first character. The first thing that will come up is races, and you'll have to pick a race, and now I'll talk briefly in general about them, then go through each one of them. First thing you need to know about races is each race live in their own area, and let's say you wanted to play with a friend and you chose different races, you can simply teleport to each other and level up together. So you don't need to worry or think about it too much. Each race have their own story in the first 3 chapters up to level 30. Then it's up to your choices for the next 2 chapters, and eventually the story will be similar for everyone with the same purpose until level 80. I try to not spoil anything for you while explaining this. Another thing about races is they won't change how your class plays or any skills, but each race have their racial skills and looks, but no racial passives. So the only different thing about races is the lore and looks and height or size of the character. But if you're going for a certain aesthetic, some races would be better for you. Just don't be boring and instantly go for humans and check out everyone before deciding. Now I'll start with each race from left to right and talk about them for a bit. The Char are all about war and domination and colonization. They have a big history of violence and warmongering, and they are the angry cats of the game, and they can be really big in character size. Their skills are based around weapons like bazookas and summoning rockets from the sky. Next is the good old boring choice, the human. They lost their land, blah blah blah. Want to defend Tyria at all costs, blah blah blah. They worship 6 gods and they have blessings and some random skills like summoning 2 dogs to fight for you for some time. Humans are like the pretty race, and a lot of people make them just to have a beautiful character. Female character. The men look kinda blank to me, to be honest. Next is Russians, Norn. I call them big humans. They're all about spirituality and nature and chasing your journey in life. They have some racial skills that transform them into spirits of the wild, like Raven and Wolf. Norns are good if you want a big, muscular, bulky character that's really big in size. Next is Asura. They are a small in size genius race that's all about inventing and science and chasing knowledge. And personally, I call them grumpy rats. And they have technical skills like summoning a golem to fight for you or summon turrets to fight for you. Asura are like really good at jumping puzzles, and they're good in jumping puzzle because of the size, by the way, because in Guild Wars 2 the smaller you are the better your jump is for some reason. And also they really have a badass greatsword wielding animation. They literally put it on their shoulders. I wish I had that in my Sylvari. Looks really cool. Now to the master race of the game. The Sylvari are the tree people or wood elf. They are born from the pale tree. They seek adventure and quests, and they are curious about the world and they're mysterious. Later in the lore, they discover their real purpose. Their skills are based around thorns and trees, and summoning plants fight for you, and even a tree wolf. They glow at night, and they look really cool in my opinion, and you can design them in multiple ways. You can even turn them into dark elves or zombies or flaming character. So it's up to you to pick whatever you look cool, because later after level 80, you'll probably never use the racial skills anyway. Most of the time it's all about the aesthetic and looks and the story if you are a lore nerd. Now I'll explain classes or professions as they are called in Guild Wars 2. I need you to forget most things you know about classes from other games, because Guild Wars 2 is a lot different. A lot of people see the ranger profession, for example, and just assume it's only the bow and range weapon class, and that's wrong. Every class in Guild Wars 2 can be played melee or ranged. And there are other classes that uses bow too. Every class have a variety of weapons they can use. Ranger can even use great swords and hammer. The mage class can even play with daggers and swords. It all depends on the build and the class mechanic. In Guild Wars 2, classes are based around the mechanic, and that mechanic can slightly change depending on the elite profession. Currently, there are 3 elite specs from every profession, and spec is short for specialization. English isn't my first language, and I get a tongue aneurysm every time I say it. That's why I say spec. So as I was saying, every spec changes the playstyle of the profession and kinda turn it into a whole other class on its own. Now I'll mention classes and talk about each profession in Guild Wars 2 and their elite spec and the variety of weapons that they can use. We have 3 groups of professions depending on the armor rate. I'll start with the heavy armor professions. First one is Revenant, and it's the only profession that can only be played if you have Heart of Thorns expansion, because it got released with it. The core mechanic for Revenant is legends. They channel powers of historical figures from Guild Wars 1, for example, for different skill sets. For example, it can channel a ghost of an assassin, and its skills changes into an assassin based skills or channel ghost of a healer and turn into a healer character. It's a bit of a complicated class because it uses the energy system plus cooldown system at the same time. That means even if your skills are up, you won't be able to use them if you don't have enough energy. Co-Revenant have access to swords offhand and sword main hand, and they mention them separately because in Guild Wars 2 you can mix up main and offhand weapons. Hammer, that's weirdly a ranged weapon. Mace offhand, axe offhand, scepter main hand from Secrets of the Obscure expansion, and staff trident and aquatic spear when underwater, and the spear weapon that every profession unlocks from Gen Wild's expansion. So I'll stop mentioning it from now on because every class have spears. The first elite spec of Revenant is Herald from Heart of Thorns, channels the Dragon Glint for buff sharing and support and CC to enemies, and it unlocks the use of a shield offhand. The Renegade is from Path of Fire, channels Kala, gaining short bow and summonable spirits that stays in one place and help with damage and sustain. Vindicator from End of Dragons, channels both Saint Victor and Arkmoris, gains Great Sword and uses leap and dodge mechanic where your dodge turns into a leap from the sky that can deal damage. The next heavy armor class is Warrior, the usual bruiser class in MMORPG games, but it have supportive and even healing builds because of the unique skill system in Guild Wars 2. The core mechanic for Warrior is Adrenaline, builds up during combat and used to unleash powerful burst skills. The core profession have access to almost all weapons in the game, and with the elite specs they only missing a few. The elite specializations for Warrior are Berserker from Heart of Thorns, gain access to Berserker mode, kinda like Adrenal mode, enhancing burst skills and damage, and they use Torch. The Spellbreaker is from Path of Fire, focuses on boon removal and counterplay, and they even have a skill called Full Counter like Meliodas from 7 Deadly Sins, and they use the dagger. Bladeshorn yields a gun saber and charges up Dragon Slash for high burst damage. Dragon Slash looks kinda like that samurai skill you see in every anime. Warrior is a good starter profession and they're survivable and simple to play, so if you're a new player you can consider playing this profession. Now to the last heavy armor class, the Guardian. You might think that is the tank or paladin class, but it really isn't. It's squishier than a mage. It's the class that can do a lot of things, be a buff support, a healer, a DPS, and tank too. As I said, Guild Wars 2 is different. Guardian has a variety of builds, but most of the time they are useful to their allies. Guardian's class mechanic is virtues, passive and active effects that can buff or even heal them or allies. The core profession of Guardian can use hammer, great swords, dual swords, shield, mace, staff, scepter, dual pistols, focus and torch, and of course spears because everyone has them. In underwater they have aquatic spears and trident. As for the elite specs, we got the first one, Dragon Hunter from Heart of Thorns. Gain traps and longbow. Yeah, you heard me right. This is the bow and trap class. Specialized in range damage and single targets, lockdown and AoE too. Firebrand from Path of Fire uses stones instead of virtues, and axe, powerful in both support and damage, and this is the healer spec. Willbender from End of Dragons, fast pace mobility focus spec with offhand swords. That means it can use double swords because Guardian can use main hand sword too, and excels in sustained melee damage, and this is the assassin samurai class. As you can see, every class has a variety of playstyles. Guardian is fairly simple and easy, but it can be difficult on some builds like the healer one and full DPS one because they have low HP. So now I'll move on to the medium professions. I'll start with Ranger. They use weapons related to nature and animal spirits, and they have an arsenal of traps and enhancements, and their mechanic is that you have a pet with them and they can collect pets throughout the open world. This pet have a skill. It's kinda like the Pokemon trainer profession. The core Ranger uses great sword, longbow, short bow, double swords, double axes, dagger of hand, torch, Warhorn, and Double Maces from Secrets of the Obscure expansion, and Spear from Gantry Wilds expansion. And as always, you can mix up the offhand and main hand weapons. For example, you can have a dagger offhand and an axe main hand together. And for underwater, spear gun and aquatic spear. The elite specializations for Ranger: the Druid from Heart of Tones gains Celestial Avatar form, where you transform into mystical being and heal allies or damage foes. It uses staff, and this is one of the best healing specs in the game. Soul Beast from Path of Fire can merge with pets for stat boosts and new skills. Uses dagger main hand, and it's kinda like the Ranger take on an assassin spec. Next is Untamed from End of Dragons. Here's the Unleash mechanic between Ranger and Pet. Uses hammer for heavy control and damage, and they have access to lifesteal too. And it leans into a bruiser playstyle. The Ranger profession is simple to play and recommended for new players, unlike the next one, the Thief. Thieves in Guild Wars 2 are the rogue type class, but with extra steps. Core mechanic of the Thief is the initiative and skill stealing. Skills cost initiatives instead of having cooldowns, and they can steal skills for enemies and be able to use them. They have access to stealth and shadow teleports and tons of shadowy stuff or assassin-y stuff. Thieves can use a bunch of weapons like double daggers, short bows, double pistol, axe from Secrets of the Obscure expansion, and Spear from Gantry Wilds expansion. The elite specs for Thief are the Daredevil from Heart of Thorns, fights with staff like Wukong, have like 3 dodges and relies on restoring endurance when they fight. And they have like mobile melee burst playstyle. Deadeye from Path of Fire uses a sniper rifle and marked system to pick off enemies at range, and can go to stealth multiple times throughout the fight. They're really annoying in PvP and wall versus wall. I gotta admit, it's one of the most fun and unique experiences in a MMORPG. Come on, like a class with a sniper? Yeah, that's pretty cool. The Spectre from End of Dragons, a shadow magic healer support with Scepter and Tether system. It's kinda like Shen from League of Legends, except they can heal too. Yes, in Guild Wars 2, even the assassin class can turn into a healer. Personally, I never tried Spectre before, but from what I know, it's really good and reliant. I don't recommend Thief for new players. It's a profession that requires a lot of experience to master, and it's also squishy, you have low HP, and you'll die a lot in open world as a new player, especially in higher level maps. The last medium armor profession is Engineer. It's the Inventor and Gadget class in Guild Wars 2. The core mechanic is they can have toolkits and turrets and gadgets and stuff like that, and they use these turret skills to do damage and CC, and also heal. They can even use rockets and bombs and anything related to science. They even have a fire gun. And the thing is, whenever you change the gadget, your weapon skills change depending on that gadget. That's why Engineer is one of the 2 only professions that can swap weapons while in combat. So you'll mostly use just one weapon or weapon combination, main hand and offhand. They have access to rifle, double pistols, short bow from Secrets of the Obscure, and spear from Gantry Wilds, and an underwater harpoon gun. They don't have weapons as much as the other professions, but as I said, they have tons of kits, and that's instead of the weapons. The elite specs for Engineer is the Scrapper from Heart of Thorns. They use hammer, adds gyros that are kinda like mini helicopter pads for support, and ground control. They're good in melee combat. This is the Bruiser playstyle spec for Engineer. Next is Hollowsmith. They get access to Photon Forge transformation, grants high DPS, uses sword and heat mechanic. I gotta say, this is one of the most unique classes I've ever played in a MMORPG. It's really cool and fun and unique to play. The transformation is really cool, but you can actually hurt yourself while using this if you are overheated. One of the most fun and unique experiences in MMORPG gaming. As I said, it's really cool and fun to play, but it's dangerous. The last spec for Engineer is Mechanist from End of Dragons expansion. Deploys a Jade mech that fight for you and tanks for you, and its skills can change depending on your traits. For example, they can be either ranged or melee depending on the traits you have. They use mace, and it's very good for new players because it's so simple. Engineer is kinda bit complicated for new players due to high amount of skills and stuff to use, but if you go with Mechanist, it lowers the difficulty and turns Engineer into an amazing starter profession. Now to the lightweight professions, and as I mentioned, it doesn't mean they are the squishiest or the weakest, it's just the armor type they use, and it got the best DPS in the entire game, the best support in the entire game at the moment, and also the tankiest, most survivable spec in the game, and the hardest profession in the entire game, which is the Elementalist. It's the mage sorcerer class in Guild Wars 2. The core mechanic of Elementalist is the down state. Whenever you play this profession, you'll die randomly after being attacked. No one can really explain it, you'll just die out of nowhere. And guys, I'm joking obviously, this is kinda like a meme at this point. This profession is hard and complicated for new players due to the amount of skills you have, which makes it overwhelming for new players, plus it have low HP. So if you're a person who gets overwhelmed quickly and rage quit, don't play this profession and pick one of the easiest ones that I recommended earlier, or the ones that comes after it. Now to the actual explanation, the core mechanic of Elementalist is attunements. Switch between 4 elemental attunements: fire, water, air, earth, just like the avatar, each offering a full set of unique weapon skills in the weapon bar. This means when you are on fire attunement, you have fire skills on your weapons. When you are on earth, you have earth skills on your weapons, which also means this is the second profession in Guild Wars 2 that can't swap between weapons on combat, because they got tons of skills already. Overall, 20 skills on the weapon bar alone, plus the attunement swaps you'll have to click, so 24 clickable skills just on the weapon bar. Weapons that Elementalist can wear are main hand dagger, scepter, pistol from secret or the secure expansion, offhand dagger and focus, two-handed staff, and spear from Genthy Wild's expansion. The elite specializations for Elementalist: first we got Tempest from Heart of Thorns, adds overloads to attunements, means their new skills too, uses Warhorn and Shouts to do damage and support, and also heal allies. And Tempest is known to be a decent healer spec in PvE and really broken in PvP, and it can go DPS too. The Weaver from Path of Fire can dual attune elements for unique skills, which means for example you can merge fire and earth to get a magma skills in the middle of your weapon bar. Uses sword, very technical and fast spec. It's kinda like a sword master mage type of class. It's my favorite from Elementalist, really fun to play and merge elements to create unique skills. But Weaver is, how should I summarize it? Too much effort for less results. Next we got Catalyst from End of Dragons, uses hammer and jade spheres to enhance skills to provide boons and deal damage. It's kinda like a tanky battle mage. It's my least favorite because learning this spec DPS rotations is harder than learning piano. Overall, Elementalist is fun and interesting, but very punishing for mistakes, especially if you're new to the game. So if you're new, just stay away from it unless you wanna play Guild Wars 2 on hard mode. Next is Mesmer. It's a class based around clones, kinda like Shaco and LeBlanc from League of Legends, merged with Naruto. The core mechanic of Mesmer is clones and shattering. Mesmer creates clones and phantasms to confuse and damage enemies and also buff themselves. Mesmers use main hand sword and scepter, and offhand pistol, focus, and torch. Two-handed greatsword, staff, and rifle from secrets of the Obscure expansion, which is the healing weapon, by the way. A rifle that's a healing weapon. So weird. Also the spear from Genthy Wild. The elite specializations for Mesmer: first we got NECROMANCER from Heart of Thorns, a time-based spec. It have a mechanic close to Dio from JoJo Bizarre Adventure. It can manage its clones, adds wills and alacrity buff to allies, and also heals. And this alacrity buff reduces your skills cooldowns. This buff was only on this spec in the past, but later on it got added to almost every profession because it was so important for group content. And this is currently the best support spec in the entire game. Next we have Mirage from Path of Fire. Replaces dodges with Mirage Cloak.
Guys, have you ever just wanted to get fucked? Well, that's good, because we're taking away your dodges.
I had to add that. Which is kind of like a blink that also adds another effect on your next weapon attack, which are called ambush attacks. It is kind of like the assassin-y type spec for this profession. And this spec is the best DPS in the entire game right now, benching at 52k DPS. Best support and best DPS on one profession. It's kinda like the devs aren't hiding who's their favorite child anymore. Next spec we got Virtuoso from End of Dragons expansion. Replaces clones with floating blades, simplifies clone mechanic into blade generation. It's kinda like a ninja type class that throws daggers I guess. This spec is really good for beginners because the DPS build for it is so easy. Mesmer is unique profession and you will rarely see something like it on other games. And its difficulty is medium because some of its specs are hard and some are easy. And we are also getting a bard spec. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to the master class of this game, the actual star, the Chad of all professions, the best profession to start with in this game. It got minions to help you, it got lifesteal, it got damage, it got a second health bar, the Necromancer. The core mechanic for Necromancers is Life Force and Shroud. The Necromancer masters of life and death and minions, builds life force when things around them die. Doesn't matter what, monsters, NPCs, even your own party members. You'll build up this shroud bar here that will also act like a second health bar, and when you enter the death shroud, your weapon bar skills change and get really strong damage and sustain skills, and you don't lose HP when you're attacked, you just lose the shroud bar. And later on, each spec adds a unique twist to the shroud. Necromancer use main hand dagger, axe, scepter, offhand dagger, focus, and warhorn. Dual swords from Secrets of the Obscure expansion, and spear from Jante Wild's expansion. Also a two-handed staff. The elite specs for Necromancer: first we got Reaper from Heart of Thorns, gains a melee greatsword and a Reaper's shroud with a big ass scythe. Strong cleave and AoE damage and sustain, and is the tankiest spec in the entire game. They also use shalts like the Dragonborn from Skyrim. Without any boons, Reapers have access to 2 health bars, 99% damage reduction. Yes, you heard me right, 99% damage reduction. One of your skills gives you 66% damage reduction and another one gives you 33% damage reduction. It's crazy. Also, it has another unique thing. As of last year, Reaper is the only class in the game that can have 3 defensive bars or health bars at the same time and all the lifesteal in the world. And this isn't a tank class, by the way. It has strong damage capability. I really love my main, that's why I talked about it so much. It's my video, come on. Next we got Scourge from Path of Fire. Praise the Shroud mechanic for Sand Shades, what a loser. That gives barrier damage from range. These sand shades are like mini tornadoes that stays in place and gives barrier and conditions around them. It's a really good support spec and used to be one of the best DPS in the game, but got nerfed a lot. Scourges use a torch and that's kind of the only thing I like about this spec. I use torch on my Reaper too. Next we have Harbinger for Ender Dragon's expansion. Uses pistol and elixirs. This is kind of like the Plague Doctor of the game. Have access to Harbinger Shroud that lowers your HP but gives you a lot of mobility and damage. Instead, you throw these elixirs on the ground as skills. You can buff yourself and your allies with them. And I just realized they could have gave this to Engineer and gave Necro a minion master spec instead of Mechanist. Overall, Necro is one of the most fun and strong classes in the game. And according to stats, it's the most played profession in the entire game. And I recommend every new player to make a Necro. Now that you know all that, I have to mention that as of now we have news of 9 new elite specs that will come with a new expansion soon. So look forward to my video about that when they fully release. The new expansion is called Visions of Eternity, and aside from the new specs, it'll come with a lot of amazing things. And by the way, I am an ArenaNet partner, so if you wanna buy this expansion or any other expansion, you can use my referral link. It'll support the channel a lot, so thank you in advance. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you watched the video till the end, comment Sylvari Master Race. I'll keep on covering the whole aspects of your starter journey to help you as much as possible. So subscribe to the channel if you're new, and like the video so it helps new people. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!